All right, one more proof for this video. So here we're given measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 4. So I'm going to write that down as my first statement. Okay, and then my reason is given. I'll number my reasons too this time. I didn't do it last time. And then measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 4. So I'm going to put that in my diagram just to remind myself and visualize it. So I know I want to end up at this, right? I want to end up with measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 3. So first of all, we're just looking at the diagram here. What can we gather from the diagram? And one thing is, remember, we can't we can't just look and see what the measure of an angle is, like, oh, it's 90 degrees, or it's about this, or they look the same, or things like that. But we can determine when we have a linear pair, right? And so in this case, I have a straight line, another intersecting line, so that forms these two angles that form the straight line, or that are that together make the straight line, right? And so that would be a linear pair. So I could say that so we could say that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180, right? 180 degrees. And the reason is linear pair postulate, right? Two angles form a linear pair that is supplementary. Okay. All right, and in the same way, we could say measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4. Measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 equals 180, right? By a linear pair postulate. Actually, I don't have to write that. Let me just. All right. So for the same reason, right? So that's same statement, same reason. So I don't have to write it again. All right. So we know those add up to 180. So now I can say that, oh, well, since they equal the same thing, they must equal each other, right? So this is where we can use transitive or substitution. So you can choose your preference there. So measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 must equal the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4, right? So I'm going to say transitive property, but you can also say substitution. Okay. All right. So now that we know that those two are equal, now we can subtract equal value from both sides, right? We know the measure of angle 1 is the same as the measure of angle 4, right? By our given. And so we can subtract that value from each side, right? So we can basically subtract this and subtract this, and so we end up with measure of angle 2 equals measure of angle 3, right? And we know that by the subtraction property. And I would say this is, somewhat substitution as well, because we're using, this in place of this, or vice versa. All right. And we've reached our endpoint, right? So there we go. All right. So using a lot of the postulates and properties that we've learned about throughout the years to make a logical proof, in this case, that measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 3. All right, so this is a process. Hopefully this has kind of demystified it for you, and hopefully you're starting to feel comfortable with it and realize that it's approachable, it's logical, and it's something that you can definitely do and become better and better at. And you'll get some more and more challenging ones, but the more practice you have, the more skill and and strategies that you'll be able to use to approach these and approach them successfully. All right, gather your questions and email me or bring them to class, and I'll see you then. All right. Oh, one other slide. So so when you write a proof, these are some guidelines here. So you must have a diagram. If you don't have one, you're going to draw it. Okay. If you're doing one of the text, copy it to your paper just so you can use it like I did to, mark what as we go, what information that we're concluding or what information we're given. So you should have a list of the given, and then a clear identification of what you're going to prove, right? So you should have given, colon, and then that filled in, and then you should always have, okay, this is what I'm going to prove, and that filled in. Okay, so that's the structure. You'll have your diagram there as well. Excuse me, and then you'll have your statements and reasons that start from your givens, right? And then along the way get down to where your statement that you want to prove, that that's where you end up, right? Okay. All right.